This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia. Here is Community Information's Brian Vandal and Kevin Kaplan.
And good morning and welcome to Volusia Today. I'm Gary Davidson and I'm joined by my co-host Ashlyn Russell. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Volusia Today is made possible by our sponsors, Daytona Beach International Airport, the Ocean Center, Volusia Recycles, and Votran Public Transportation. Good morning, Ashlyn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Gary. I'm looking forward to a terrific furry show.
Yeah, me too. How about I get us started with a joke? Or a riddle, actually. So, Ashlyn, do you know what they call a dog that doesn't bark?
What do they call a dog that doesn't bark?
A hush puppy. Oh. Get it? I crack myself up sometimes. So. But I actually told that joke especially for you, Ashlyn, because I know that you're an animal lover.
Yes, Gary, I am. You know me so well around here. I grew up my whole life with animals, just raising. I actually raised animals for the Volusia County Fair when I was younger. I now have a cat and a dog, which I love so dearly. I've been actually a customer with Animal Services for the past few years. Their staff actually neutered one of my dogs, and back in November, I attended a county meeting with our guest, and he did a presentation with some kittens. Now, I am not a cat lover, but this one kitten that he brought, I just fell in love with it, and it fell in love with me.
I guess you are now.
And yes, I am now a cat mom, you can say. And he actually took care of the neutering and everything for my kitten as well. So now they're both living a happy and healthy life.
Well, that's terrific, Ashlyn. I know you're going to enjoy our guest today, and I'm sure our listeners out there in Radio Land will as well. Adam Leath, he's no stranger to the program. He's the director of Volusia County Animal Services, and he's always a wealth of wonderful and helpful information about caring for our furry four-legged friends. So welcome back to the show, Adam. It's good to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Gary, and thank you so much, Ashlyn. What a great welcome, and thanks for living the message. Spay-neuter is such an important part of what we do at Animal Services.
Absolutely. So, Adam, with the June 1st start of the Atlantic hurricane season right around the corner, this is a good time to talk about pets and storm preparedness. So when you talk about making sure pets are storm ready, it's much like people, right? It's about having an evacuation plan that includes your pet. It's about having a sufficient supply of your pet's food, water, medicine on hand. And it's even about having a pet hurricane survival kit, right? So what should you have in your pet supply kit?
It's a great question. There's no bad time to talk about disasters. We live in Florida. We talk about sea level rise. We talk about hurricanes. I mean, the disasters that affect people and pets, the list goes on and on. So it's incredibly important that people think about it today. So things that you might not think about in your pet's evacuation kit or your hurricane kit might be your medication for your pet. If you have a pet that is relying upon life-saving medication to keep it healthy, that's really important. So do you have enough that's going to last through the storm? Do you have enough to clean up after your pet? If you don't have appropriate water, you don't have cleaning supplies, it might be a little bit uncomfortable for you and your pet after you're evacuating for a period of time.
Sure.
Having your pet's medication records, its veterinary records, any vaccination records, all of those things become incredibly important when you start thinking about what shelter your pet's going to have. You might be able to be lucky enough to find, friends and family that live outside of the evacuation zone. But if you're looking to board or you're looking to have your pet stay at an area that's not impacted, let's say a boarding facility or a veterinary clinic, they're going to want to know those records. What if you had to leave home for a prolonged period of time? If you don't have those records, they're incredibly difficult to get. So having them printed, either keeping a copy on your phone, certainly keeping them in a waterproof bag, you're going to need those records no matter where you go and where you and your pet evacuate to.
That's great advice.
Well, Adam, we know that pets are more often helpless during a storm. Why is that?
So for pets day to day, they are completely relying upon us to provide reasonable care for them. So in times of disasters, they can become very uncomfortable. It's a very new environment. They can become startled. They have senses that we don't. They can pick up changes in barometric pressure, weather events. They can become incredibly stressed. And when you couple that with changing their environment, changing their environment alone is stressful. Just ask anybody who's tried to bring their cat to the vet. That's not something they like to do. So if they're doing that, and on top of that, coupling it with some serious weather event, it can be incredibly stressful. And the likelihood of you being separated from your pet increases exponentially during times of disaster. So while your pet's comfortable in your surroundings, probably stays around your home, in your home, now you're evacuating with it. What happens if you get separated? It gets out of the car, or gets out of its carrier, or you don't have a carrier and you don't have it identified, it becomes a stray pet. And that's the last thing we want to see happen.
That change of scenery, a venue of your typical routine, as you said, can be very stressful to your pets, stressful to people also. And I assume your pets can sense the stress from you.
They do, and they respond to that. The challenge is we're all concerned about our own health and welfare, including our pets. And during times of disasters, might not be easy for us to think clearly. Might not be easy for us to develop that plan, get all of those resources, and try to do everything last minute when you're also having to be concerned about your other family members, your friends, including your pets. So all of those stressors just get compounded during a disaster, which is why it's so important to be thinking about it now, even before hurricane season.
And we already touched on this a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit more because it's just so important. I'm talking about advanced planning, knowing what to do, where to go in the event of a storm or other evacuation event. And the point is that if you don't start planning until an evacuation order is given, it's probably too late. So again, talk a little bit more about the importance of planning in advance.
Well, understanding that if you are relying upon our emergency shelters, and Volusia County is very fortunate to have emergency shelters that also include pets. Pets are part of the family. We don't want people to delay evacuation or not to evacuate at all because they don't know where to go with their pets. Evacuation shelters are meant to keep you safe. They're not meant to keep you comfortable. And so if you're really relying upon those as your first line of defense, understanding it's not going to be the typical comfort that you're used to. So if you want to be comfortable and you want to reduce the stress on you, your pets, and your family, it's so important to be thinking about it today. For instance, you might think, I'm going to go to a local hotel. Well, what if that hotel is not pet friendly? Or what if they are pet friendly and there's not that many of them? You're not the only person. In fact, we have hundreds of thousands of pets in Volusia County. Imagine how many people might have that same thought and maybe that same plan. And if you're not one of the first to get that room, it can become challenging. And even we saw this during Dorian and some of our most recent hurricanes and declarations that on one area, let's say we're impacted on one side of the state, those that aren't go to the other side so that they can find appropriate shelter, and vice versa. Well, that might mean that there's less supply for you to find a location for you and your pet to stay. So sheltering options become incredibly challenging. So we always encourage people to evacuate early, and to include their planning with their furry friends and family.
Very good advice.
Yep. So for those who aren't familiar with your services at Animal Service, can you talk a little bit about what happens or what offers Animal Clinic?
Yeah, so I'm incredibly fortunate to be a part of an amazing team that save lives every day. I think what's gotten me so excited about this career choice, and it's really the only career I've ever had, is you don't rarely in an opportunity are you given in your position to see the difference that you make in the lives of animals every day. And not only do I get to see that, but I get to work with a lot of talented men and women who have the same mindset and who get to see the difference they make in the community. Everything from our clinical operations, which Ashlyn, you talked about earlier. We want to try to put as much resources as we can into prevention. So preventing pet homelessness, a huge component of that is to reduce the pet overpopulation by sterilizing our pets. So we provide that. We're one of the only low-cost, high-volume spay-neuter clinics within the county. We offer that as a service. It's incredibly important. We want to make sure that even those that may have financial difficulty, that we provide access to care. And we have a number of individuals within our community that aren't able to provide veterinary care. Let's say they have lost their job, or maybe they're homeless. We work with those individuals within our community to ensure that not only do they have access to care, but that they're not making difficult decisions between providing resources for themselves or their children and their pets. The other thing is our field operations. So we're talking about the men and women who are out there in that vehicle, in the community, engaging with people on a daily basis. They're keeping people safe and they're keeping pets safe. We like to think that we're putting the majority of our resources into prevention, things like providing low-cost spay-neuter, things like providing vaccines and microchipping, things like providing dog houses for people, helping them mend fences, getting them pet food if they need it. I would much rather provide those resources on the front end than unfortunately see what might happen if they don't have those appropriate resources. I think a lot of times our field operations folks are really thinking ahead and trying to make sure we provide the resources for pet owners so that we can prevent some of the neglect that we see in our community. Certainly, we can't prevent everything, and sometimes we do see egregious cruelty and neglect. And my hat's off to them, because it is incredibly challenging work to see the things that they see and do the things that they do. So we just finished, in fact, April is National Animal Cruelty Prevention Month, and the second week in April was National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. So we take time to really recognize the work that the talented men and women do out in our community, in the field, to not only keep us, but our pets safe.
That's terrific, and not only the professionalism of your staff, but the passion for what they do. It's evident, it's palpable. You can see it in everything that they do.
It's not a career, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of us take pets home and foster at the end of the day. We're engaging with stakeholders on community events over the weekend. We're collaborating with our local, state, and national partners, trying to find ways, and new and innovative ways, to make a difference and make an impact and save lives in our community.
Absolutely. So let's take a brief pause, but don't go away. We'll continue talking with Adam Leath on the other side of the break.
Do you enjoy helping animals in need? Then why not join our caring and professional team right here at Volusia County Animal Services? We have immediate openings for several high-energy candidates interested in becoming a part of our animal care clinic family. As a vet assistant, you'll be doing everything from prepping patients for surgery, as well as assisting in surgery, even recovering those patients. Also prepping log records and helping with our field services and our casework. Vet assistants also help out during our special events, which are extremely popular to the public. Things like pet microchipping and vaccine events, as well as food drives. All of those things are incredibly rewarding, and you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping pets right here in your community. To get more information, please visit volusia.org or call 386-248-1790. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, why don't we go to the Marine Science Center?
Yeah!
Are you looking for a new adventure? Come on down to the Marine Science Center in Ponce Inlet. Watch as our staff cares for sick and injured sea turtles. You can also explore our marine exhibits, touch some stingrays, visit our gift shop, and stroll through the Seabird Sanctuary. Afterward, you can visit the Ponce Inlet Lighthouse. The Marine Science Center is open every day but Monday.
You can access Volusia County government online at volusia.org. Listen to county council meetings, pay for permits or tags, or search the property appraisers' databases. Volusia.org is your Volusia County government information resource.
And we're back. I'm Ashlyn Russell along with Gary Davidson, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public information program brought to you by County of Volusia.
Thanks, Ashlyn. So let's continue our discussion with Volusia County Animal Services Director Adam Leath. And we're talking about preparations for the hurricane season for you and your pets. We talked a little bit about evacuation shelters that really should be considered a last resort. I've heard Jim Judge say this many, many times. A shelter's a lifeboat, not the love boat, and meaning don't expect any luxuries. It's the bare necessities. But if a pet owner has to evacuate and they have no other option other than going to a pet-friendly shelter, what should they bring with them, Adam?
Well, I think it's a really important question. It's certainly timely, and I think the way that we should break this question down is what species are we talking about? If we're talking about livestock, if we're talking about horses, cattle, you can't really bring those to the shelter.
Sure.
If we're talking about snakes and pocket pets and reptiles, and I mean, the list goes on and on. The menagerie of the types of pets, because they enrich our lives that people bring in to the home, really runs the gamut. So understand that if you have a common domestic pet, dog or a cat, you should have those supplies with you. And if you don't, we do have some emergency supplies on hand. If you're bringing in something that is a little out of the norm, a little exotic, if you will, and it has special dietary requirements, special housing or a habitat for it, know that none of those resources are provided. In fact, you get a 10 by 10 square on the floor and a cot. So imagine what all the things that you have in your home to care for you and your family, including your pets, you're not going to have any of that. So if you don't bring it with you, it's not going to be provided. So we don't want to see people evacuating to a shelter and then not have any supplies. We work our staff diligently to ensure that we can provide as much as we can, but I have 16 staff, and we have sometimes over 30 shelters in the county. So doing the math, it's one person per 2 shelters, and not all of those are pet friendly, and we do change those from year to year. But it's always important that people bring with them, as we talked about before, a carrier to securely house your pet. If they do become fractious or do become scared or unpredictable, there's a safe way to contain them. We don't want people who are unfamiliar to your pet to unfortunately, suffer a bite or a scratch or something of that nature. Making sure you have those vaccination records, your veterinary records, any medications with you, things to clean up after your pet, and that you bring anything that you think your pet might enjoy. Comfort items. I know I like candy. I know my pets, like high value treats, beef jerky, all sorts of different things. I'm going to bring things that make me feel comfortable. And if you bring things that make them feel comfortable, it's all about trying to do the best with what you have. And so you would be surprised at a dog who is completely unfamiliar with its surroundings, but is very ball driven. Seeing a ball in the middle of all of this can make a huge difference in their quality of life, certainly in that environment. So comfort items are really important. A leash for a dog is a mandatory accessory. You can't bring in your pets and not have the ability to control them in some way. And certainly having a crate and a carrier for other pets, including your dogs, depending upon the size. We obviously don't have every size, but we have some emergency supplies. But there's not. If everybody evacuated to a shelter with their pet, there wouldn't be enough supplies for half of them. So we try to do the best that we absolutely can, and we've done in every disaster ensure that every person has what they need. But by and large, people do bring a lot of what they need to the shelters, which is why we emphasize how important it is for you to be thinking about it today, not when the disaster strikes.
Again, great information, and exactly why we love having you on the show, Adam.
Thanks so
Sounds
much,
like
Gary.
we need to stock up on our animal toys as well and keep them all happy and everything. So we have so many questions for you, but this one is to get informed. Before the storm season, you don't want to wait until the storm is coming. So what about first aid? What should pet owners be thinking about whenever we're talking about first aid for animals?
So in animal services during disasters, we are the ESF 17, or the Emergency Support Function 17, which means that all animal and agricultural concerns fall onto animal services, which is an incredible responsibility. Our staff does an amazing job at doing everything that we can to ensure that pets are safe. But understanding that there are some pretty extreme things that happen. I mean, we've seen 2x4s through cattle. We've seen pretty serious, injuries that pets sustain by trying to jump through broken glass or, falling from, high areas. We don't really have a lot of high rises, but sometimes we do see that, pets jump out of windows or jump out of the balcony. Those types of injuries can happen. So it's important that you think about what your pet might need. Things like alcohol and peroxide and bandaging materials can be incredibly valuable. things that might be eye flush, thinking if your pet gets, things in its eyes. We can't really put just general water in there, just general first aid kits. There's a lot of them that are commercially available, but thinking about, very routine types of injuries, but know that we're here for you. We actually have a very talented veterinary team that is comprised of 2 veterinarians that we actually bring to these shelters and into the community. Our field operations, our animal control officers are actually in the community making sure that we transport injured pets, whether we have an owner for them or it's an owner that's reaching out. We have to rescue pets from all sorts of different precarious situations on a daily basis. That only increases during disaster. So just be thinking about the types of routine first aid kits that are out on the market. Always a good idea to have them. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to direct you to them.
So, Adam, in closing out this portion of today's discussion, we know that we can't talk about pets and storms without talking about microchipping. Why is getting your pet microchipped so important, and even more so before a storm hits?
Well, I've tried, but I don't speak dog and cat, and I've tried other languages, but I would really, if I could speak any additional language, it would be dog and cat. But unfortunately, they can't tell us where they live. They don't know where they're at. And so without a microchip, without some form of identification, a tag, a collar with your information on it, I don't know that it belongs to you. And your pet doesn't know where you are. So without a microchip, I hear it all the time. In fact, I just heard it yesterday. My pet always stays in my yard. It never gets out of the home. Nothing ever happens. And on a good day, that's perfect. But we carry insurance policies not because we think something's going to happen, but because something could happen. A microchip is an insurance policy for your pet. They don't have opposable thumbs, but you give them a microchip, they can call you. And on a daily basis, we immediately scan every pet that comes into our care for a microchip as soon as we encounter it. So if that's in your neighborhood, we know where you live because of the microchip that's inserted in your pet's coming straight back to you. It doesn't go back to a shelter. So that's why we provide that service free of charge. We do large microchipping and vaccination clinics because it is such a life-saving measure. It's a simple procedure, couple of minutes at most, size of a grain of rice, like a vaccine, very quick and efficient to identify a pet's owner, and we can reunite them even in times of disaster.
And dispel any misinformation or misunderstanding that might be out there. This is not a GPS. We're not tracking the movements of your pets.
There are GPS tracking collars. They are incredibly expensive. That are commercially available. A microchip is not that. It is actually a radio frequency that can only be picked up by a scanner, and it corresponds to a very long string of digits. Just numbers is all that's on the chip. It's our database internally that we connect the two together. We both have a database locally and nationally. So if you get your microchip for your pet and let's say you move to another county or you move to another state, we ensure that not only is it registered locally, but it's registered nationally. And again, it's a free service that we provide to the citizens of Volusia County, and it's a life-changing decision when you get separated from your pet.
Absolutely. So we're going to take our last break, but please stick around for more of Volusia Today.
Get ready, it's time for another Volusia County Fire Rescue Fire Safety Tip.
Another good tip for the kitchen is safety for the children. We want to create a 3-foot zone of safety around the stovetop so that children can't access and get burned.
we're back. I'm Ashlyn Russell along with Gary Davidson, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public radio information program brought to you by County of Volusia.
Thank you, Ashlyn. And we're talking to Volusia County Animal Services Director Adam Leath. And so far, we've spent most of the show discussing how to prepare for the storm season for the protection of people and pets. So let's switch gears a little bit before we wrap up. You just started a new program called Meet the Pack. What's that all about?
So all of our staff are pet people. So we all have pets of our own, and we eat, live, and breathe pets. So every Monday, first Monday of the month, we actually bring our own pets to local pet parks, so dog parks. So we go out on those days of the week, work directly with the public, and provide resources. We set up a tent, we have a little hydration station for your pet, and want you to kind of get to know us. A lot of times people don't know what we do until we don't do it, and then they immediately know what Animal Services does. So we want to try to dispel some of those common myths. It's not what you see on the Disney movie about what we do at Animal Services. We're all about keeping people and pets together. And we want to take those resources into the community, educate people on what it is that we do, and know that we're people too, and we're pet people.
Terrific. I think it's the first Friday of every month.
That's correct.
Okay. And so the next event will be Friday, May 6th at Lighthouse Point Park in Ponce Inlet and Barclay Square Dog Park in DeLand. So come on out and meet the pack. So before we wrap up, I just have to mention that for those who don't already know it, Volusia County Animal Services recently received an incredible honor. They were named the Outstanding Agency of the Year by the Florida Animal Control Association. You've got to be incredibly proud of that achievement, Adam.
The team deserves all the credit. We were voted by our 67 animal services departments within the state of Florida due to the progressive programs and services that we provide. So know that here in Volusia County, pets are a priority for us. We're all pet people. We want to make sure that you recognize that we are a resource for you. Anytime that you need something for your pet, even if it's a question about your pets, we want you to know that we're here for you. And it's really an honor to be recognized by our state association for that life-saving work that staff do each and every day.
That's terrific. And so before we close, you talked a lot about what you and your team do for the citizens, the resources, the services that you provide. But what do you, Adam Leath, do for yourself? When you're not serving the citizens, what do you like to do? What do you do for relaxation, for entertainment?
Well, my kids make sure that I stay busy, and I stay busy with all the things that they like to do. So there's a lot of fun Disney movies. There's a lot of parks. We like to go outdoors. I enjoy bonsai, so I do a lot of plants and cactus and succulents and those types of things. So we like to do things outdoors, and we as a family really enjoy spending time enjoying what nature provides. It's a beautiful area to live, and we're lucky to call Volusia home.
Yeah, we certainly are. This is really quite a paradise here, isn't it?
That it is.
Well, thank you for everything that you and your team do, Adam. We're fortunate to have you in the community and to provide all those terrific services for the animal lovers out there. And as I said, we truly are fortunate to have you. So we're going to leave it there. We're out of time for today. I want to thank our guest again, Volusia County Animal Services Director Adam Leath. Thank you for listening to Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia. I'm Gary Davidson.
And I'm Ashlyn Russell.
Have a great day, stay safe, and be good to your pets.
If you have a comment about Volusia Today, or if there is a topic you would like to hear featured, please contact Volusia County Community Information at 1-866-345-0345.